Started at $0 million a few years ago. Now we're trending towards 20. We started at 0% margin, then 10%, now 30%. We started with no factory. Now we have a factory and we're thinking about expanding it. And we have day shift, afternoon shift, and overnight shifts. Our target for this year is going to be $20 million in sales, and we just have begun. We've only just begun. So that's with our traditional tonneau covers alone. When you add our solar innovation that's coming out later this year, the Solus solar tonneau cover, things get very interesting. When you add our core battery system, things get extremely interesting. The opportunity for Worksport to reach in the next 6 to 12 months a run rate of $100, $200 million and beyond is very real, and something that we're working very, very, very tirelessly on. Then once you start looking at our solar integration, it gets much more exciting and much more meaningful. And once you start looking at our battery generator system, sure, it could be used with trucks, but it also could be used by anybody, anywhere, globally. So it opens us up to a much broader market. And in aggregate, we're talking about billions of dollars of markets, and we're really taking big bites in terms of our growth this year. So here's our one of our first folding tonneau covers. We started with soft folding tonneau covers. So this is the Worksport SC4 Pro. And it flips up against the window to allow full bed access. And it's something that we presently sell right now quite successfully. It looks great, it finishes great, and it's something that we're very proud of. And it's one of our first intellectual property assets. And one of the first innovations we have in our marketplace. And this is really our crown jewel. This is something we're super excited about. It's our Solus solar folding tonneau cover, the first of its kind in the world, a folding solar array for pickup trucks, custom made for pickup trucks to keep your cargo clean and dry, but also produce 400, 500, 600 watts of power. Now, put it into perspective, the average 45 to 55 inch flat screen television consumes around 60 watts of energy, sometimes 70 at the high end. So this tonneau cover could power 10 flat screen TVs. It could power barrel fans. It could power industrial equipment. There's a very meaningful amount of power in 500 and 600 watts. So we're very proud of that. What you can see is a little sneak peek in the right is our core battery system. So that's our mobile battery generator system that gets recharged by the core, and something we're very excited about and has a massive market opportunity for us. The tonneau cover market is $4 billion, and we're going to try to take as big of a piece of that market as we can. But when we start looking down the road of our solar integrations and our battery systems, that's when things become very exciting. So this is our Solus solar tonneau cover, and when integrating the Solus solar tonneau cover with our core battery system, we're the first of our kind to develop a full, true remote nanogrid. So power on the go, away from plugs, turning basically trucks into power stations. Now, if you don't have a truck, that's fine. You could use just the core alone. Any individual can buy a core power system and use it for job site, campsite, first responders, natural disaster relief, all these types of things. And our core battery system here on the right could be charged by any wall outlet, producing about 3 kilowatts of energy. So that's a very meaningful amount of energy to power anything that anyone would need for the job site or the campsite. Our core this is a video of how it kind of works. Our core has 12 different outlets. It'll allow us to plug anything into the core that you would traditionally plug into a wall outlet. So saws, power tools, compressors, projectors, fans, campsites, job sites, everything. And what we've invented here, and you saw at the end of that video, is the very first modular battery system. So with other units in our landscape, in our market, their units, the other battery generators out there, are a sealed unit. They're a box of batteries. Our core system has a modular battery, so that means that when the battery's running low, you don't have to just charge the entire unit and it becomes a paperweight. You could replace the depleted battery with a fully charged battery. And why that's important is because you have virtually unlimited amounts of energy. And secondarily to that, you also have the ability to charge a depleted battery from any wall outlet or any solar.
This thing could be potentially 100 bagger stock over a couple of years. And here's how. Again, something you mentioned very interesting. There's a rice cooker analogy. Like Sony started off making rice cookers. Then they became this, they started doing, radios.
Yeah, entertainment, microchips. Yeah.
Everything. Huge, and of course, that same path was also followed by Honda, by I think Toyota. I mean, a lot of the Japanese companies, and also guess who else? this guy could be your twin. What's his name? Elon Musk. What did Elon Musk start with? He started with, an electric car. But look at what is Tesla? Is Tesla a car company, or is it an AI company or robot company? It's very similar. You're kind of going down a similar path because, and again, they got trucks also. Now I think they got their own tonneau cover and like their own built-in, whatever. But it's a very similar thing. I mean, this is kind of like it is kind of like you basically have like a mini Tesla. Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, where we bring you those stocks which have that 10X to 100X upside potential. Companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar opportunities that are at a key inflection point and with multiple catalysts in place. And we have with us a debut presentation from Worksport, our latest next super stock, Worksport, WKSP on NASDAQ. Steve Rossi, the CEO. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Steve, so, by the way, we're sorry we got started a little bit late today, but it's definitely going to be worth it. I was just thinking before we started, you have, your companies, you got this made in the USA products, different innovations. And it got me thinking of another company that started with one product and everybody thought, it was kind of crazy, whatever. And it was kind of like a failed IPO. I remember doing that interview and, I was like, okay, I don't know, whatever. The stock was trading at like $1.20. And that company was Axon. I don't know if you know Axon. They make the tasers. It was called Taser. Then it changed to Axon. So that thing went from $1. Now it's $800 a share. Some years later, maybe a couple thousand if they did the splits. But they started with Taser, which people didn't really believe. Then they started doing the body cameras for cops. Different innovations, all sorts of different stuff. And again, if you would have put $1,000 into that stock, you'd have $1 million today. From every $1,000 would have turned into literally $1 million. Now. Steve, it's been a while since we had like 1,000 bagger like that. So we're counting on Worksport to be that next big win. We're known for 10 baggers, but we need something bigger now. So can you help us? Can you help make it happen?
Hey, we got all the ingredients for the perfect recipe. I think we're brewing something amazing here.
Excellent. So I want to get into it because I think what we want to, I think, focus on is the company's at a major inflection point right now. And the opportunity for investors is, I don't think the market understands really what Worksport does and really what the company is about and where it's going, especially where it's going. They kind of think, they make some truck tonneau covers, whatever, small. They don't understand kind of the big picture of what's happening. And that's what I think what we want to focus on the future, which is going to be the next 6 to 12 months out, because you got a bunch of milestones coming up, a bunch of inflection points coming up, catalysts and everything. So I want to get into that. So Steve, what I'd like to do for today though is the format. Let's start with a presentation. Like we're going to show you a deck, right? I'll disappear from the screen. Give people kind of the big picture, kind of what the business model is. I'm going to come back with the Q&A, and then we'll have audience questions, and we'll go from there. How's that?
Sounds perfectly fine to me. Yeah, I'm happy to run through the presentation. Just let me know when we have it up. I'll get started.
We got it up. I'm gonna disappear, and the stage is all yours.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining me. First time on with the Wall Street Reporter, and he opened by saying the right things. I think that there's some very important ingredients to a magical recipe that could make a highly successful company, and what we're building here at Worksport, I think, is precisely that. So I'll jump right into our business. I start by saying that the question is, would you invest in a rice cooker, a business that makes a rice cooker? And most people say, no, of course not. And well, that rice cooker was Sony's first product. And Worksport, we have our rice cooker. Another saying that we commonly refer to is from the humble acorn grew the mighty oak. And what that means is building a business and industry based on real products that have real demand and high explosive growth is really the infrastructure, the base that things can grow. And that's what Worksport really is. So here on the right, you'll see that Worksport started its primary core business today. We make tonneau covers for pickup trucks. And I'll explain a little bit about the market in a little bit. So you can see that it's quite a big market. In the middle here and on the right, it's kind of where Worksport's heading. So Worksport's heading towards solar integration truck accessories. So the world's first solar folding tonneau cover. So think charging EV trucks like the F-150 Lightning, Rivian, Slate EVs that are coming out, all the exciting EV trucks. And then we have a product called the Core. It's a modular energy system. So think of a generator, a gas generator without gasoline, so battery. So we talk about our rice cooker as a very basic product, our tonneau covers. But then once you start looking at our solar integration, it gets much more exciting and much more meaningful. And once you start looking at our battery generator system, sure, it could be used with trucks, but it also could be used by anybody, anywhere, globally. So it opens us up to a much broader market. And in aggregate, we're talking about billions of dollars of markets, and we're really taking big bites in terms of our growth this year. So here's our one of our first folding tonneau covers. We started with soft folding tonneau covers. So this is the Worksport SC4 Pro. And it flips up against the window to allow full bed access. And it's something that we presently sell right now quite successfully. It looks great. It finishes great. And it's something that we're very proud of. And it's one of our first intellectual property assets and one of the first innovations we have in our marketplace. Beyond that, this is our Made in America hard folding tonneau cover, the Worksport AL3. So the AL3 and AL4 are Made in America products that we're frankly really seeing a lot of growth on. In fact, we're busier than we know what to do with these products. So there's a massive amount of growth in our hard folding tonneau covers. Highlights of the products is they're cost effective, they're innovative, they keep your bed clean and dry. They're made fully in America by Americans with American sourced material. We're 93% American sourced material, from the paint for our panels to the aluminum alloy used in our extrusions and panels themselves. Everything comes from American soil. 93% of everything comes from American soil. So we really are the gold standard of made in America here. And it's something, these products, these AL3 and AL4 products that you're seeing here have been a lot of the growth that we've seen so far in the past this year. And this is really our crown jewel. This is something we're super excited about. It's our Solus solar folding tonneau cover, the first of its kind in the world, a folding solar array for pickup trucks, custom made for pickup trucks to keep your cargo clean and dry, but also produce 400, 500, 600 watts of power. Now, put it into perspective, the average 45 to 55 inch flat screen television consumes around 60 watts of energy, sometimes 70 at the high end. So this tonneau cover could power 10 flat screen TVs. It could power barrel fans. It could power industrial equipment. There's a very meaningful amount of power in 500 and 600 watts. So we're very proud of that. What you can see is a little sneak peek in the right is our Core battery system. So that's our mobile battery generator system that gets recharged by the Core, and something we're very excited about and has a massive market opportunity for us. So let's have a look a little bit about the pickup truck market. So there's 60 million pickup trucks on the U.S. roads. That number is growing. About 5 years ago, 15% of vehicles sold were pickup trucks. Today, 20% of vehicles sold are pickup trucks, and that trend's growing globally. Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, pickup truck adoption is becoming massive. So it's one of the largest markets. And then within that market, if you go down to the bottom, you see the tonneau cover market. Our tonneau cover market in the U.S. is about $4 billion. So the total addressable market for Worksport is $1 billion. If you think about that being our rice cooker, our basic product, it's a massive opportunity for us just in this market alone. You look at other very famous brands. Some of you may be familiar with WeatherTech. WeatherTech built a business of over $1 billion in revenues from selling floor mats for vehicles. So there's a massive market. And what you can see is that the tonneau cover market specifically is growing at about 9% a year, whereas pickup trucks are growing at 2% because the average pickup truck owner replaces their tonneau cover on their truck multiple times throughout the life of that truck. So that's why we're seeing a bigger growth in tonneau covers than we are in the truck market, although the truck market's growing massively. This is our crown jewel, our factory here in Western New York. We have 150,000 square feet of floor space. We have a 70,000 square foot automated storage tower that we're very, very proud of. That it's robotic. It allows us to be able to store cargo up there, fully automated. We can expand on the right-hand side of this image. We can expand about 80,000 square feet. So we have 15 acres of land. And we also have some support by the New York State government in terms of our hiring and our grants. So we have everything we need in one roof that's an owned asset by Worksport to be able to see the growth that we have and we're having. This is our director of sales jumping on one of our American-made tonneau covers. He's every bit of 180 to 200 pounds, and our tonneau covers are built to be very, very reliable. This is one of our customer reviews. So this truck got hit with hail from a hailstorm in Texas. And you'll see further down in the video, the truck was completely covered in dents, but our tonneau cover on the back of it doesn't have one single dent. So it shows you that our American-made products are something that we're very proud of, but also extremely durable, that are built even tougher than the truck that they're on. So we're very, very proud of this. So let's start looking at where we are today and where we want to go down the future. So right now we've assessed that we have our tonneau cover market. The tonneau cover market is $4 billion, and we're going to try to take as big of a piece of that market as we can. But when we start looking down the road of our solar integrations and our battery systems, that's when things become very exciting. So this is our Solus solar tonneau cover. And when integrating the Solus solar tonneau cover with our core battery system, we're the first of our kind to develop a full, true remote nanogrid. So power on the go, away from plugs, turning basically trucks into power stations. Now, if you don't have a truck, that's fine. You could use just the core alone. Any individual can buy a core power system and use it for job site, campsite, first responders, natural disaster relief, all these types of things. And our core battery system here on the right could be charged by any wall outlet or any solar array, not just our tonneau cover. So this is a better look at the system itself. Sorry. Inside of a Dodge Ram, and it's fully mounted within. And that system right now has 3 different batteries. So it's producing about 3 kilowatts of energy. So that's a very meaningful amount of energy to power anything that anyone would need for the job site or the campsite. Our core this is a video of how it kind of works. Our core has 12 different outlets. It'll allow us to plug anything into the core that you would traditionally plug into a wall outlet. So saws, power tools, compressors, projectors, fans, campsites, job sites, everything. And what we've invented here, and you saw at the end of that video, is the very first modular battery system. So with other units in our landscape, in our market, their units, the other battery generators out there, are a sealed unit. They're a box of batteries. Our core system has a modular battery, so that means that when the battery's running low, you don't have to just charge the entire unit and it becomes a paperweight. You could replace the depleted battery with a fully charged battery. And why that's important is because you have virtually unlimited amounts of energy. And secondarily to that, you also have the ability to charge a depleted battery from any wall outlet or any solar panel separate from the unit itself. So the party can keep going on or you keep doing your job remote. So let's take a look at the competitive landscape. On the tonneau cover side of the business, there's one major competitor called Truck Hero or Real Truck Now, and they're about $1 billion in tonneau cover sales, and they're private equity owned. So they're Goliath and we're David, up and coming and much smaller, but they're private equity owned, and they've lost some of the I guess the culture and the spirit of their brands that they've acquired. On the right here, on the battery system, competitive to our core, or a competitor to our core, is EcoFlow. So EcoFlow doesn't have home turf advantage. They're made in China. They're owned in China, but they've still been able to sell about $1.2 million units, and their revenues were $1.2 billion. So our 2 major competitors in our market that we feel we have better products from aggregate to almost or over $2 billion in sales just within the US market. So if you look at Worksport's opportunity and just being a competitor to our competition, we see an opportunity to be able to grow our tonneau cover division to over $1 billion in sales, and our portable battery generator systems to over $1 billion in sales as well, because our products are better. They're going to be at higher, better value propositions for the customers, and they're more innovative. We're very proud of the fact that we have a lot of companies promote the fact that they have a patent or a couple of patents. We have almost 200 patents and trademarks on a global scale. So we're no small fish in terms of our intellectual property assets. And we're very, very proud and strong at being able to come up with inventive designs, new products, new innovations, but also patent those designs, monetize them, and then protect them with vigor. So that's a very strong asset in our balance sheet that investors are, when they're investing in Worksport, they're investing in our factory that we showed you, all of the designs, all the tooling, all of the patents we have. You're getting a piece of all of that we have within the business. Let's have a look at some of our sales. In Q1, $2 million. You can see this is just amazing growth. This is our first real year of really growing our sales. Q2, year-over-year growth, quarter-over-quarter growth, 4 million, 5 million in Q3. Q4, we're projecting about $8 million in sales. Our target for this year is going to be $20 million in sales, and we just have begun. We've only just begun. So that's with our traditional tonneau covers alone. When you add our solar innovation that's coming out later this year, the Solus solar tonneau cover, things get very interesting. When you add our core battery system, things get extremely interesting. The opportunity for Worksport to reach in the next 6 to 12 months a run rate of $100, $200 million and beyond is very real and something that we're working very, very, very tirelessly on. We're capitalist. We want to make money on what we sell. You can see that in Q2 we had 12% margins, and now this quarter, Q2 of last year we had just over 10% margins, like 10 to 15%. 15%, and then now we're at 26%, and more recently we're trending towards 30%. So we're planning on selling a lot. We're already growing exponentially. We're up 300% year over year, almost 400% year over year. But our margins, our gross margins, have continued to grow, where we're at or over 30% gross margins as well. So we're planning on selling a lot. We're also planning on making a lot with what we are selling. We also have a very interesting subsidiary to Worksport that needs a fair amount of attention, which is called Terravis Energy. And Terravis Energy is releasing something called the AetherLux Pro, which is it's a heat pump for houses. For anyone that's very familiar with this, it's a massive market. It's a $300 billion market that we're aware of globally. But our AetherLux Pro by Terravis, our subsidiary, is something that doesn't exist in the world. Heat pumps right now, they fail. They stop producing heat somewhere around negative 20, negative 25. With our heat pump, we're able to produce heat in negative 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're able to produce cool air conditioning at upwards of 55 degrees Celsius or 131 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a breakthrough technology as a subsidiary to Worksport called Terravis Energy that we think is a massive breakthrough. We've had a huge amount of interest from global companies and governments and all these different opportunities that are popping up, and we're going to be capitalizing on all of these as things kind of carry on for us. So the foundation's been built for Worksport. We have 455% revenue growth in 2025, and we're going to continue to grow to 9 figures in sales, $100 million plus. Our margins are rapidly growing from 11% to 26%. We project 30% by the end of the year. So we're selling a lot, we're making a lot, and then that's just on our rice cookers, our basic tonneau covers. Then when our core battery system comes out later this year and our Solus solar tonneau cover come out later this year, that's when things become very interesting in terms of our abilities to grow into 9 and 10 figures. We're targeting $1 billion plus in terms of revenues and company valuations as well. Beyond that, investors, shareholders, people that are watching the company should be aware is that we're also looking at integrations of our battery systems into homes for backup power. Like think of Tesla Powerwalls, but a little bit smarter than them. We're thinking about modular backup power for home, job site, campsite, these types of things. And we're also thinking about communication systems integrating into our core battery system. So our core battery system, think about it as a Starlink satellite system for communication, but it doesn't need power, it provides power. So when you start looking at the upside opportunity for Worksport in terms of what our future looks like, later this year, we're launching 2 breakthrough products, and we're going to see massive growth, continued massive growth. But beyond the end of this year and into next year, we're going to start looking at integrating into homes, heating and ventilation systems globally, and we're going to be looking at global communication systems for emergency first responders, and off-grid systems as well. So we have some very big objectives as we continue to grow, and I'm glad to have been able to at least present this here today. So cash flow positives on the horizon for us, and we think we make a fantastic value proposition. So that's the end of the presentation. Definitely love to open it up to any questions.
Wow, Steve, this is unbelievable. I'm glad. I'll tell you, I'm glad we did this. Having you first do the show and tell, because it's amazing. No, it's absolutely amazing. So I don't even know where to start. I'll start with kind of the basics. I'm not sure where to start. No, really, because there's a couple of angles here.
Too much.
I'm looking at what's the path for this thing to be a 10x. I think the stock could be much bigger. I think it could be like literally, and sometimes I don't want to use the word exaggerate, but sometimes I kind of, but this thing could be potentially 100-bagger stock over a couple of years, and here's how. Again, something you mentioned very interesting. This rice cooker analogy, like Sony started off making rice cookers, then they became this. They started doing radios,
entertainment, microchips,
everything, huge, and of course that same path was also followed by Honda, by I think Toyota. I mean, a lot of the Japanese companies, and also guess who else? This guy could be your twin. What's his name? Elon Musk. What did Elon Musk start with? He started with an electric car. But look at what is Tesla? Is Tesla a car company, or is it an AI company or robot company? It's very similar. You're kind of going down a similar path because, and again, they got trucks also. Now I think they got their own tonneau cover and like their own built-in, whatever. But it's a very similar thing. I mean, this is kind of like it is kind of like you basically have like a mini Tesla. And it seems to me like you have all these innovations. One of the things I want to ask you, I want to make sure I don't forget, is do you have like a team? You got all these patents, you got this heat pump thing, which I didn't hear about before. You got a communications product, you have the batteries, it's a huge leap from doing basic, basic tonneau covers, which is like a basic thing. I mean, sure, it's complicated, but seems like a basic product. And now you're doing energy products, you're doing these very highly engineered things. How does that leap happen?
How does it? Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, look, I right now I'm the only one on camera, but we've had other investors, shareholders, we've had people from the capital market side as well as customers. We've had the governor of New York. We've had all these different influence of individuals come and they look at Worksport and they think, what is it? And when they come and visit our factory, they clearly realize what it is. We have well over 100. I mean, we started with, it was just me on a plywood bench, many, many moons ago. And then now we're over 100 people. We're going to be over 300 people within a year. We have the brightest engineering minds. We have the brightest corporate development minds. We have the brightest of all of we have the best in terms of electrical engineers. We have teams within the company that are just the best at building what we've been able to build. So, how we make that leap is with the brain power and tenacity combined. So, we started with a tonneau cover as a tic-tac-toe, integrating solar, perfect that tonneau cover, make it perfect. Once you perfect the tonneau cover, integrate solar into it because you already make the tonneau cover very well. So that's a smaller leap, right? Then once you integrate solar into that tonneau cover, now you can deploy that energy into a battery system. Now we're deploying the battery system. We've been developing it for 2 years. Now that we're going to develop the battery system, it's a smaller leap, small little bites. They say, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time, right? And then when we have our battery generator, unlike Starlink, people think, oh, I got Starlink. It's great. I can communicate in a war zone. Well, power goes out first thing. When there's a war zone, there's no power. Where are you powering these from? So we're intending that after we release our battery generator, we're going to have a battery generator with satellite communications. That's not only going to give you power, right, in good times and bad times, but it's also going to give you communications. Now, we're not necessarily saying we're going to launch satellites, although we might, but we can integrate with satellite systems that exist already for satellite communications. And what I'm showing is we started with a basic product and we're building off of that product. And not only are we building off of it, we're also growing the hell out of it. I mean, we were $7 million in sales all of last year. Now we're having $7-8 million quarters. And the only reason they're not growing faster is because we can't make product fast enough. Ramping up sales and production is not something that happens overnight. You have to hire, you have to train, you need equipment, you need material, you need supply chain, and navigating it through trade wars, geopolitical issues, in our factory and equipment, and making it ISO. We're ISO certified all this year. All of the stuff we're doing is little tiny bites, but we're getting there. So, I think that our target this year was $20-25 million. We're going to get there. Once we end this year cash flow positive and we launch our most exciting products, the core and the solar integrations, that's when things become tremendously interesting in terms of Worksport becoming a massive part of the average individual's life, far beyond the keys in the ignition they're driving their pickup truck, all the way into in their homes, in their lifestyles, job site, campsite, first responders, military. All of these integrations are possible for us, but we're getting there one bite at a time.
And it's interesting. Well, you're following the model that's been behind some of the greatest companies in history. All the great companies, they start with one product, and where they end up from there could be completely different. But perfecting that, going from there, and then innovating. We can use tech examples. We can use Amazon as an example. Were they a book company? Everybody thought I thought it was a book company. I'm an idiot. I missed out on one of my biggest, Amazon. I don't know. They're selling books on the internet. No. It was a data company, masquerading as a book. And then now they're not even they're a what do you call it? A cloud company, AI. I mean, it's everything, right? So, and you can use all those examples. I mean, so the thing that you're doing is really like it's not even that you're just following the model. You're actually executing, because we're seeing the results. Like the numbers, these are real numbers. These are like impressive numbers. Like, and here's the crazy thing. This stock, this could be like one of the best opportunities out there, because you're trading at a market cap of $20 million right now, which is essentially, I think, like book value. In other words, like, the land, the cash, I think you got $6 million in cash. You got like inventory. There's probably the assets are worth like $20 million. Then you got the IP, which we're not even valued. But the people is the real value. We're not even the thing is the people are coming in and out of the building every day. That's the real thing. That's what. So the thing, basically, you're getting the company. Somebody who's buying the stock right now is getting this thing for free. They're getting it for absolutely free. A private equity company would probably value you at least $100 million, based on everything. Like, at least. Because
we've been there before. We've been at $100 million before. In 2021, then the markets went a little bit more challenged for smaller companies, and we were a fraction of what we were in 2021. Today, I mean,
that's the opportunity, Steve. This is what the stuff I always talk about. It's like a lot of times the opportunity happens because a company has a great product. People see they see the opportunity, but then either the stock gets way ahead of itself, they get too optimistic, whatever they get, or the company stumbles. It always happens with growth. There's always some sort of stumble, and then the stock crashes. Everybody gives up. And that's the moment where it is the best entry point. When everybody is given up right at the inflection, which is actually where you are right now. Because the stock is, what I love about the stock is from the technical setup, I don't want to get into the whole chart stuff, but from a technical setup, I love stocks which have had previous highs of 100 times higher, whatever it is, because there's an old trader's maxim. Stocks like to go back to old highs. Why does it happen? I don't know, but it seems to happen over and over again. And if Worksport goes back to old highs, we're talking about over $100 a share, right? So but again, that's like a thing on the side. I think what's impressive is right now somebody's buying this thing for $20 million. That's the valuation, which is like 1x revenue. So it's like a deep value, this is like a Warren Buffett wet dream. You know what I mean? This is really like a Warren Buffett on steroids, because you also have growth. He's a value guy. Old back in the day was like old value, but this is a company on the threshold of this explosive growth with all these new products and just getting started, which is crazy. So I want to say, okay, so the path, I think, to 10X, right, for you to be a 10 bagger, which I think is pretty easy, is that, you're doing 20 million in revenues. You said you're gonna hit 100 million probably in 12 months right now. 12 months.
Yeah, our target next year. We have yet to give forward guidance, but we're going to be looking at 50 to 100 million dollars fairly reasonably on our tonneau cover lines. Our competitors are $1 billion plus. When we start looking at battery systems that are going to be new to us in terms of selling our core, and then future integrations and these types of things, that's when things get interesting. But I could say that what gets me out of bed in the mornings is not a $50 million business. Nine figures doesn't even excite us. We're in this for 10 figures. We're in this to build $1 billion plus in terms of revenue business. And the answer of when is it can't come fast enough. So we're grinding every single day, and it's very difficult to grow from $1 million. What was funny? I'll tell you a quick story. We raised this money in 2021. We're an importer from China, right? And we raised all this money. We raised enough money to be able to reinvent ourselves, to say we're no longer going to import from China. We're going to make this right again. So we went to New York State. We found this factory and we loved it. Fast forward, we bought it. I'm standing in this 250,000 square foot building. And the first thing, I'll never forget this, I thought, what do I do now? What the hell do I do now? Raise your hand if you built a made in America tonneau cover factory with state-of-the-art equipment. I couldn't raise my hand. We figured it out, though. We figured it out. And in 2 years, we started from 250,000 square feet empty and never having done it before to ISO, profitable, growing, and our best products coming out in months. Like our Solus should be out. Our Solus solar tonneau cover, the panels are on their way from the same factory that makes them for the space station. The solar panels are on their way to our factory now to be assembled into the first 1,000 Solus covers. The core is just finalizing its last UL certification test for a UL certification that's not even required today. We're so advanced that we're certifying our products for the future. So we're meeting certifications that the Chinese competitors aren't even anticipating yet. So our product is way in advance. We have all the major big box stores all over us. We have all the major distributions in automotive all over us. They're calling us. When are you going to sell us? When are you going to sell us? I'll tell you, Jack, you've never had someone more upset at you than when you can't sell them something. Man, these guys are, why can't you sell us now? It's like, relax, take it easy. But the point is, what gets us out of bed is 10 figures, is building $1 billion business. And the answer of when we're going to get there is not fast enough. It's not soon enough. Yesterday wasn't fast enough. We're going to keep grinding away. But the idea is we have all the path there between our new energy systems for everybody, not just truck owners, our tonneau covers and our solar integrations, and how we thread all those needles from home to job site to campsite to cabin to RV to first responders to military on a global scale. It's not rocket science for people to be able to see that our products can be in the hands of someone in the continent of Africa as much as in North America as in South America.
No, interesting you mentioned Africa, because that's like, massively growing market, and they don't have really good roads there. I mean, pickup trucks, they are considered like, that's like a prestige thing. And it's like, not only is it utilitarian, it's like it's a big deal. So and again, they also have issues with power. I mean, this really, your technology is actually tying also very well to like really the developing world. We're talking about Africa, we're talking about India, we're talking about a lot of massive opportunities over there. But that's just tip of the iceberg. But here's the deal. So if you hit $100 million run rate, let's call it in 12 months, the stock should be valued, I mean, minimally 5x multiple, which would be 500 million. Realistically, I think it could be a 10x. Why? Because that type of velocity, when the market loves speed. If you go from 20 to 100 million within the next 12 months, and people see where you started from last year, easily it'll be a 10x. Now, it might get a little ahead of itself for a little while, but I could see the path to being a 10x multiple. So, but let's just say it's 500 million valuation. That's a 25x from here. That's a 75. I'm doing the math. That's a $75 stock. Right, so it's not a crazy thing. I was saying before it could be potentially, $50 stock, whatever. But really, this could be a 7,500, You know what's funny, Steve? Didn't I just say the stocks like to go back to old highs, $150? There is a path for this thing to be $150 because if you're trading at 10x of that 100 million, a 10x multiple, which is not crazy. It's we see it all the time. That's a $1 billion valuation. That's over $150 a share. That's just one path to get there. That's just one path I mentioned.
We're shooting for the stars, and what's critical there is sell, make money on what you're selling, and sell, grow, and become profitable. So all of those things are under the umbrella of executions. Traders, those that buy the stock from the open market. Investors, people get frustrated when I say this. Investors are those that invest directly into the company. Traders are those that buy stock. Traders can be the most difficult to please, but we love them, we respect them, and we want everybody to be as profitable as they can be. Although we don't control geopolitical issues, we don't control bad earnings or CPI. We're going to get there. And Amazon went from I think $100 to $6. Home Depot used to be $4 a share. The companies have had difficult valuation periods, and Worksport's not indifferent to any company, but execution's critical. And what I will say is, we've had some delays indeed in terms of getting our products out. We're dealing with highly complex systems. Everything that goes into a phone, be it a screen, PCBs, and batteries, is exactly what goes into our core. Our core has a touch screen, PCBs, batteries, Bluetooth connectivity, EMI, everything. So everything that it goes into developing an iPhone goes into developing our core battery system. So that's why it's taken so long. 2 years is actually, I think it took Apple 4 or 5 years to develop its first iPhone. We're into it for 2.5 years. So we're proud that we're going to be launching that later this year. But what I will say is we are focused on execution. We started at $0 million a few years ago. Now we're trending towards 20. We started at 0% margin, then 10%, now 30%. We started with no factory. Now we have a factory and we're thinking about expanding it. And we have day shift, afternoon shift, and overnight shifts. And then in terms of the Solus and the core battery system is out there. There are units out there that have been bought from the company, and they're getting they were for beta testing. Beta testing is wrapped up. We're getting into full launch. So that's execution. It just doesn't happen overnight. And the Solus cover, I mean, I think we probably have viewers here today that are watching this live cast from around the world that have our Solus solar tunnel cover installed on their vehicle that they've bought from us, our beta testers. But we need to take time to ensure that the product's of high quality. So we've been executing. We wish we could have executed faster. We've had a lot of difficulty in terms of geopolitical issues and who knows what. But what I will say is we are executing. We're not only slow, we're never going to slow down. We're speeding up. We're getting smarter, faster, and we've come so fast, so quickly that from being able to make 10 tonneau covers a day to 200 tonneau covers a day in less than a year, and then next step is 1,000. I mean, it's breakneck speeds.
No, it's amazing. So, no, again, this is kind of like you mentioned Amazon, but yeah, a lot of times it's kind of like Amazon. I think it was $6 in 2001, or like right around the early, like right after the .com crash. But nothing changed about Amazon. Amazon kept the fundamentals were there. Just the valuations or whatever. It's the market has not. I always say the market has nothing. The stock price has nothing to do with the business. They're totally different. They're unrelated. Sometimes they converge, but usually they're unrelated animals. And the opportunity for investors is like right now, the stock, the market, it doesn't understand what the upside is. They don't get where the company is going or the valuation. I think maybe, I think what's really compelling is kind of, I want to talk about the future. I would talk about some of the things here, but I think the back history kind of is very interesting because you founded. When did you start? You're the founder, right? When did you start the company?
Started the Worksport in 2011, and the intention for me at the time, when I was in my early 20s, was to just be a importer of tonneau covers from China. And I started that it was me in a pickup truck. I imported them from China. I was going around knocking on doors, selling them to garages and body shops and stuff, and just a dealer, self-dealing my own product. And then I thought, let me try to sell these in the US from Canada. And I started selling them in the US, and things really took off. So we needed to, I needed more more cash resources. So I went to a friend of mine at the time and I said, hey, you know, I know you're in the financing business. Can you help us grow Worksport? And he's, you know, in terms of financing so we can get more products to sell more, because the US was actually a pretty big market. We had some dealers that were selling them on eBay and their web stores and storefronts, these types of things. And he said, yeah, the only way I can help you is by taking you public. You know, not a story I might make a movie out of one day. You know, a difficult situation, but we actually went public as a reverse merger company on the OTC pink sheets in 2013, 2014, and that I know of. With this, and if you go back to 2014, I was saying the same thing. It wasn't like we were solar and then CBD water and then all the
No,
we were like there was just tonneau covers, you know, then
right.
and it is now. Now we're executing, but in 2014 we went public as a pink sheet company, then to QB, then to QX, then to NASDAQ. And you know, it's funny, when we listed on NASDAQ, you know, we listed the same week as like a lot of other companies in the automotive space, Archimoto, Canoe, Atlas Motor Vehicles, and there was a fourth I can't remember. All of them are gone. What's the guy's name? He's from Europe. They made Fisker, who I met. You know, gone. Companies are bankrupt. We're the only ones that have survived and are growing.
And what's interesting, Steve, what's interesting is all those companies, they had massive funding, VCs.
They raised, I mean, they raised hundreds of millions of dollars. We Worksport's raised $50-60 million.
Yeah.
You know, but we have a $20 million factory. We have tens of millions of dollars in inventory, assets, all these types of things. And we're growing. But yeah, don't get me wrong, we have black eyes. It's difficult in the market. But to go from a pink sheet company to QB to QX to NASDAQ, and everybody that uplisted on that same week or that same period of time with us that I just named, Fisker, Archimoto, Canoe, Atlas Motor Vehicles, which turned to NX something, all these gone, dead, gone. And they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, 4, 5, 6, 10 times more. Archimoto, Fisker, and Canoe probably raised hundreds of millions. Maybe $1 billion plus. Gone, bankrupt. The shells. So Worksport, at the very least, I'm proud of the fact that, you know, we're surviving. We're not only surviving, we're thriving right now. And this is a series of inflection points as we execute. In the fall, we don't have an exact day because I don't control, you know, certain things. But in the fall of this year, our core battery generator system, which is for a global market, is going to launch, and our Solus is going to launch. It's already out there. They're already out there. We've sold them, but sold them in beta testing. So what I'm getting at is that with much less resource, financial resource and dilution, we've gone way further, and we have much more to show for it. 200 patents, 250,000 square foot factory, R&D facilities in Missouri, 130 employees going to 200. We're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And like I said, we're growing exponentially in terms of how fast we're learning how to do better. So look at us a year ago to today, everything's like that. And the ability, like artificial intelligence, our ability to get even better, faster is exponential. It's going to be a straight line up in terms of our execution and how we perform in the future.
No, it's amazing. You know, listen, I'm in this business, you know, I don't know, almost 30 years, I think, and the number of OTC companies that make it to NASDAQ, that survive, you know, that follow your path is like, I can't count. I think maybe I can count on one hand. I mean, I've worked with thousands, like literally thousands of companies. The number of OTC that actually make it to NASDAQ, and not only make it to NASDAQ, because there's companies that could make it, but actually make it to NASDAQ, and actual real companies that actually develop revenues that actually make, you know, do what the dream was, is maybe 1 in 1,000. Maybe it could be 1 in 2,000. It's a very, very small number. It's like very, very small number. So it's
I only know of one. I know of one other, and that's it. And then they're a decent company too. So, but yeah, it's very difficult navigating things. And coming from my background, I've only been in business. I started my first business when I was 18. I'm 39 years old now. I only know business, and you know, the analogy I use is like I'm like the fictional character that everyone loves, Rocky Balboa. I might not be the best fighter, but we just don't go down. We have tenacity. We do not go down. We just keep going. We get up every day. We show up and we grind. And there's no other way to build a business than just grinding it through. And we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. and we're just starting now. We're just starting.
So I think, there was a slide which I found very interesting. Again, I think the focus, there's a couple of really key takeaway points I think the investors need to be aware of, because that's where the upside in the stock is. The upside, there's two paths for this thing to be, a 10 bag or even maybe more, maybe even 100 bagger stock. Number one is, okay, the company's at is at that inflection point where you're getting into this explosive revenue growth phase that started over the last 12 months. You're at 20 million run rate now. You're going to hit 100 million run rate in the next 12 months. You do a 5x on that. That's 500 million. That's basically a 20 bagger from here. That's a $70 stock. Mm-hmm. But there's two other things, right? There's you had a slide which showed some of your kind of competition. And by the way, I don't think anybody knows this tonneau cover truck market is. There's a company doing $1 billion selling tonneau cover. I had no idea. Yeah. But there's a guy. This company, we used to say Truck Hero. They're doing $1 billion selling these tonneau covers.
We don't know for sure. I mean, we respect the hell out of them as our competitors. They're called Real Truck. We think they're about $4 billion in top line, and we'd anticipate the tonneau cover part of their business, which makes up most of it, is at least $1 billion in tonneau cover sales.
So I mean, if they were doing $1 billion, I mean, again, you're right now. You got a lot of market share that you can. There's a lot. This thing is just getting started.
The only reason we haven't grown faster is we can't make our product fast enough. That is that we cannot put more tonneau covers in boxes under the high quality standards that we have. We can't do it fast enough. Now we're getting faster. Like I said, we started making 10 units a day, 20. Now we're making 160 a day. We're going to get to 1,000 a day, and 1,000 a day is 9 figures in revenues, like $200-300 million. But what I'm getting at is it just takes time to grow. We need to grow.
Yeah, and the other side of that slide, you had this Chinese company that's doing $1 billion in. The power is the power. What do you call them?
They're battery generators.
Battery generators. Okay, so they're doing $1 billion in sales in battery generators. Your battery generator is basically a better version of it. It's a whole different level essentially. So it just
not even comparable.
Yeah, so it just go and also it's charged from that solar, right? From the truck cover, you can do it.
It could charge from our solar tonneau cover. If you have a truck, it could supercharge from our solar array. If you don't have a truck, if you don't even have a driver's license, it could charge from any wall outlet or any solar array. It just might charge a little slower. Like our solar tonneau cover, think of it as like a Tesla supercharger for our gear. So if you're like, hey, my grandmother wants one, you don't even have to have a driver's license. You could buy our battery generator and charge it from any wall outlet or any solar panels, that you absolutely that you might have or could buy.
And how long does it take to fully charge it?
It depends on the solar. So on our solar panel cover, it could charge a battery in probably 2 hours. Wall outlet, an hour and a half.
Okay. So I'm somewhere in Midland, Texas. I'm working in the oil fields of Midland. There's a lot of pickup trucks in Texas, right? Yeah. Midland, Texas. You're driving. Everything in Texas is like 2 hours, right? You're driving around. You're charging. This is a perfect application. You're driving around. You're charging this battery, the generator, and the generator has enough power for. I think you mentioned for how much energy is in that battery generator that's going to have?
It depends on. We're the only our creative element of our system is that it has modular batteries. As in the Chinese units, think of them as like a case of beer. It's just a sealed box, and it's full of batteries, and it's 100%. And when it's dead, it's dead. Now it's a paperweight. Now it's 50 pounds of paperweight. You got to plug it into the wall for 8 hours, and it's dead. So for 8 hours, you're just lugging around 50 pounds for nothing. Our unit is like a power tool. When the battery's dead, you can remove that battery, plug it in, and replace it with a charged battery. Why that's good is 2 reasons. Number one is you, as the user, can buy as much energy from us as you want. So you're doing a beach wedding, you're a photographer, you're doing you're a construction worker, you need to run your compressors, whatever. You can buy as much battery you can have as much energy as you want. We're the only one that offers modular batteries, as in like a power tool.
Oh, really? You're the only one?
Yeah, we're the only one. Yeah, but then the benefit the benefit, and you want to talk 100X, you want to talk about opportunities, is what do you think your wife's going to buy you if you have our battery system? What do you think she's going to buy you for Father's Day or Christmas or your birthday? So I'm going to buy Dad more batteries for his course so we can go fishing longer, or campsite or job site, or all these different things. So not only do you get to buy or get to have as much energy as the consumer as you want from us, we don't just sell you like our competitors from China. It's just a one-time sale. They sell it once. With us, that customer keeps buying more. They come back and they want another battery pack. They want another battery pack. So it's really a massive win-win where we have continual revenues from one customer, and then that customer has as much energy as they want. But then one step further is Worksport's going to be developing product as a service. Hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, all these disaster zones. The minute something bad happens, what's the first thing that gets sold out in instance? If the stores are even open, the stores are usually closed because they're in the middle of the disaster zone too. But people need generators. Worksport is going to, in the future, we're going to house and deploy our energy systems as part of first responders to natural disasters and victims, so that we're the energy people need right away. So there's a hurricane that hits somewhere, 10,000 homes have no power. We're deploying 10,000 units to anyone that needs energy from us. And then we collect them at the end, return them, store them, deploy them for the next time that they're needed. So it's a product as a service.
Yeah, I mean, you may be able to get a big contract from like FEMA. I mean, and Trump would love the fact that, this is all made in the USA. This is, I mean, why don't they have, 10,000 generators sitting in, they should have, right? They should have like 10,000 units somewhere.
Well, they have maybe gas generators, but I'll tell you what, the pumps don't work when the power is out because of a hurricane. Pumps don't like to work, right? You can't pump gas. You can't even drive your vehicle. So you're just stuck. It's difficult. There was more deaths in the hurricane that hit Louisiana. There was more deaths from CO2 poisoning from people trying to heat themselves or run barbecues to heat their houses and all these kinds of things. There's more death from people just trying to survive after the hurricane than the hurricane caused itself. So what I mean is people need energy. So our product could also be a product as a service. It could be a lease to own, a rent to own, a subscription service. It could be all. So think about all the opportunities in terms of FEMA, DOD, first responders, military, all of these things. And then, like I said, further beyond that, we're already looking at communications. We're looking at Starlink is a device that needs energy. Worksport's core battery ecosystem is going to be a communication system that will provide energy. Mark my words, we're getting it there. We're going to get there. A power generator system that provides connectivity, whether it's for data, whether it's for telecommunications, whether it's for good times or bad times, like we say. And we're really thinking about being able to do that reliably and safely. We're using lithium iron phosphate or LFP batteries. that are a lot safer in our systems than NMC or lithium ion. They're a little less power dense, but they're super safe, so that if these are in difficult, hurricane environments are being used, they're stable. Our battery systems are safe and stable for anybody to use anywhere. No,
I mean it's amazing. Okay, so are you talking to Musk, because this is right up his alley, right? This is on multiple. There's multiple for multiple reasons.
There was a friend of mine. I'm still friends with him. There was a friend of mine that started a business, and he was importing wheels and tires from China. And he called me one day. He said, "Steve, I'm so excited. I landed Costco." And he was just this guy, like just a one-man show, an importer from China. He says, "I landed Costco. I'm going to sell Costco all the winter tires and wheels or whatever that they need." I said, "You might want to be careful. You may not be ready for that yet." No. I'm going to. So he took a mortgage on his house to buy. They placed a $10 million PO. He mortgaged his house, borrowed all the money he could to finance the PO, and he was happy. He sold them $10 million in steel wheels or whatever. At the end of the season, Costco returned $9 million of it, bankrupted him. What I'm getting at is there's a time and a place for Lowe's, Home Depot, FEMA, DOD, Slate, Rivian, Ford, General Motors. It would be stupid for anybody here to think that Worksport's not going to integrate with these companies directly or peripherally. So simple. Hey, General Motors, we want to make you a tonneau cover. No, we're not interested now. Okay, well, we're just going to release a tonneau cover for your truck and sell it to your customers for you. There's either direct path or indirect path. We're not worried about that. What I am worried about is getting over our skis. If we go too fast, then we may cause more damage to our long-term growth opportunities than good. And what I'm getting at is if we don't put out the perfect product, like look at our on our website, Worksport AL3 and AL4. First time we ever made tonneau covers, ever. We're almost at 1,000 5-star reviews. Almost at 1,000 5-star reviews. We have people, we have customers referring other customers that just love our product. The most important thing is that we make something perfect. Then selling it to Tesla or Slate or Rivian or Ford or General Motors, that's not the hard part. The hard part's making it perfectly and making it stable. So our battery generator, we don't want to start with Lowe's or Home Depot. We can't sell them first. We're going to start by selling them to our customers on our website. Once everyone gives it a thumbs up, 5-star, whatever, then it's, you know, maybe Lowe's in 50 locations and a small government contract. And we grow, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. Investors may not like that. They may not love that we're not a flash in the pan. But like I said, the big guy, people that the Icarus flew too close to the sun. It's a parable that we all know about.
Back to all the great companies, they start off with that like core base of like raving fans. You got to have that core base of these people who really love the product, and then they build. And it's a little bit like, you know, there's a company that's a totally different area, but Yeti, you know, Yeti, which does the coolers.
Massive.
You know,
how they're able to sell $300-$400 coolers.
I don't understand. That's the thing. I don't understand. The products are so expensive, and like, what? I don't get it. But it seems very similar to kind of what you're doing, a little bit. I think.
I lost you for a second. Sorry.
You froze. No, we're talking about Yeti, and again, you know, we're talking about the price. They have crazy prices, and I don't know but they have a real core fan base, but it started off as a utilitarian product, right? Like coolers or whatever, and now they're doing their whatever. But your thing is it's kind of a similar market in a certain way, but like outdoors use, whatever. It becomes like a, you know, prestige product or whatever. I mean, I don't think you're marketing it as a prestige product, but you know, it's a similar, you know, it's not all too dissimilar. But again, if they could do, I think they're doing $2 billion in revenues from nothing. I mean, they went from like zero pretty much.
Yeah, Yeti's. I mean, we look to them, we look up to them, and I think that our marketing team is looking the same way as marketing on a broad spectrum. And I think once we release our core battery system, we're going to be marketing to the same or similar customers in the same fashion. As we may not be the cheapest, we're not that Amazon no-name brand, but we're an amazing product that affords an amazing lifestyle. And then Yeti at $2 billion. Like I said, we don't get out of bed in the morning wanting to build a $100 million business. We get out of bed in the morning wanting to build a $1 billion, $10 billion, $100 billion business.
Excellent. This is, you know, this. By the way, this is. I was talking. We had another CEO on before, but you know, it's like two back to back. Both start with a W. Maybe W's for winning, but you know, I always. It's very important. You know, Steve. This is like, you know, I talk about it in the book, the 10-bagger blueprint. The main thing you want is, you know, you're betting with these small companies, and still look, 20 million in sales or whatever it is. At the end of the day, in the microcap space, you're really betting on the leadership, right? And you need CEOs who think big, because, you know, if you think big, you're going to at least get somewhere there, right? So if you think of building a $10 billion company, maybe you'll get to $1 billion, maybe you get to 500 million. Even if you get to 100, Steve, even if you get to 100 million, I think everybody here will be very, very happy, because the stock will be a $75 stock at that point. I mean, again, we're not making it's not investment advice, but that's kind of the path, and it's a very conservative path at a 5x multiple. It would be very conservative. I want to ask, I hope we have a little bit of time, which is like a really important part. Maybe we'll spend more later. But so you mentioned Aetherlux. I mean, am I pronouncing the last part of your presentation?
Yep.
What was the product? Because I didn't quite understand it. What is that exactly?
We have this subsidiary called Terravis Energy, and Terravis Energy is releasing a product called the Aetherlux, which is a heat pump. So heat pumps are heating and air conditioning systems for homes, and it's a massive market. And it's not like I'm not doing this, as in like we're not making tonneau covers and then developing heat pumps. It's a subsidiary, so it's a separate business within that Worksport owns. That has its own R&D, and the R&D team has been working on this heat pump technology, and it's very exciting because heat pumps are global. They don't require anything but power, so you don't need a gas line or anything like that. But the heat pumps right now in the world, they they don't produce heat for your house when it gets below, let's say, -15 outside. But in some places in the north or in cold climates, it gets way below -15. And they don't produce cool in the summer months in like Arizona or some of California or Texas when it gets too hot. So there's this massive market that's got like really cold and really hot, or both. Like in some of Canada, it gets -50 and +50 in one year, in 4 seasons. So there's this massive market that want heat pumps, but the heat pumps in the market today don't produce heat and cool in those climates. So what Aetherlux, what Tairvis has done with Aetherlux is develop a breakthrough with a heat pump that produces not, sorry, I said 50s. I meant 100 in hot like 110, 120s, which happens very frequently now. In Toronto, I think this summer it was 110 some days. That's Toronto,
Oh, wow.
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. They developed the heat pump technology that should be launching later on this year. Samples this year, production next year, that produces heat in -55 and cool in 120 plus. It's a breakthrough, and it could fit for every home or living space or even small commercial environments on a global scale. The market's massive, and that's like an added little like side business, but a subsidiary that we're developing, that it's like the icing on the cake, but realistically this market is the cake. This market's far bigger than the tonneau cover market. It's massive. So we're very excited. And once we launched the innovation, the first article was released by a journalist about that. The companies that reached out to Terravis Energy, our subsidiary, the biggest in the world. I can't name them, but the biggest companies that you could think of in that space were calling us like, we need this product. What do we got to do? And obviously those are ongoing conversations, but it's just the amount of interest is massive. So we really think that there's something amazing happening there, and there'll be more news for investors there.
Okay.
There's massive, you use the word catalyst. There's massive opportunities.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, how did that product get developed? How did you develop that? Like, what was like that? Just somebody came up with it randomly. Kind of like 3M. 3M. Some guy posted notes, another guy comes up with what they have. A lot of people working on a lot of stuff. 3M is like one of the world's great companies.
Yeah, and they started with sandpaper. That's their rice cooker.
Again, back to great company. A lot of these great companies, they start with one thing, and then from there they go into all these.
Yeah. So we got into it because we got a grant at a university, and we were working with this university. And one of the professors there was really into this heat pump stuff. So we ended up partnering with them and funded some research. And in exchange for the funding, we absorbed it. Once it was past proof of concept, we absorbed the technology and took it to the final miles internally. So we started with a project unrelated to heat pumps, but we kind of started this one individual researcher was really into it, and we thought something here. And in business, you got to be a good picker. You got to be able to pick good things when you see them. So we saw this peripherally, and we thought there might be something interesting here. And we took it. We funded some of the development. Then we absorbed the development internally, and now we've really hit breakthroughs. We've had people. We have a research and development lab in Toronto where we do the Aetherlux research and development. And there's been, I mean, when people come into that lab, it's phones off, no electronics, NDA. Like you basically got to come in like, almost naked, metaphorically, because we're very secretive over our technology there. But when we've had some of the biggest companies and individuals, representing some big players come into our R&D lab, very skeptical, because our technology almost breaks the laws of thermodynamic. That's how breakthrough it is. And when they've come in to see the technology themselves with their own eyes, which we never hide from anybody, we've had to mop the floor. People's jaws drop at what we've been able to develop. So we're very excited about that. And that's a little story on the side that we're developing that should take more shape later on this year and early next year in terms of catalysts. Okay, so that in itself could be even bigger than what you have right now, much bigger. Yeah. Terravis Energy could be a sleeping giant, and it's got a strong leader. Their leader's CEO is actually my father. and he's a genius in his own rights, and I'm proud of what he's been able to do. And to that extent, I'm supporting that the development of that business. I think it's going to be fantastic.
This is like, is your family like they got the inventor gene or something? There's like a very, come up with all these different things.
We got bright minds.
It's very impressive. So this leads to the final question, which I think is interesting. So what is Worksport? Because it's not really a truck accessories company. It's more of I don't want to call it a technology company, but it's kind of like, it's like Tesla. Is Tesla a car company? Are they a robot company? Like
Sony, same thing. What makes Worksport is a series of products that started in automotive, and there will always be our automotive business unit. But Worksport, the name Worksport is typically what defines a human being, is that there's things that we do for work and there's things that we do for personal enjoyment. Basically, the key in your hand can be for the ignition for the work truck, to the ignition to your ATV, to the key to your home. And we want to follow you. We want to follow the individual from their house to what they do for fun to what they do for work. And we want to power that. So I believe that the future will be energy storage. You got to think decentralized finance, Bitcoin, blockchains, all of these things have one common denominator. There's one utmost common denominator to everything that's going to be the future. AI, right? You would agree that that's big, right? Blockchains and Bitcoins and digital currencies, going to be big. Electric vehicles, going to continue to be big. I think that governments are now pushing to have no gas vehicles by a certain, year, right? What's the common denominator? Energy. Now, I don't think the infrastructure exists in the cables, like in the power systems in the grid traditionally. So smaller grids, like home grids, are going to be important. So energy storage. So Worksport wants to play in energy storage and obviously expand from a portable carryable unit to home, to job site, to campsite. And we want to integrate into people's lives as energy storage, then continue our automotive division or business units, and then integrate beyond that into communications. I think that having power, staying connected is going to be the two most important things as things move, as we evolve as people. And then obviously the automotive accessories, like our sandpaper for 3M or our rice cooker for Sony. It's not the biggest market, but it's something that it's the foundation from which we've been able to build the vision for the future.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, like, this is, and you can see it happening. Sometimes, look, again, I'm in the capital markets for many years, right? And sometimes you have companies that tell you a story, and it's all basically, it's hype. It's all based on, we're going to try this, we're going to do, but we're actually seeing it happen. Like the revenue, these are, it's you've built this foundation, and now like you're reaping the rewards. You've planted the tree, and now you're reaping these fruits of this product. So it's not a, like, all the stuff like you're saying. It sounds absolutely incredible. It's incredible upside potential, but what makes it real, what gives it the underpinning of, okay, there's a good chance it's going to happen, is because you've already built it's already happened. It's not like this is not like some guy saying, hey, we're going to change the world with this widget. No, this is actually happening right now. And there could be other things down the road which we don't know about, which is the blue sky that could be even more exciting. But okay, so I want to end with this. So I think it seems to me like one of the reasons stock is cheap is investors don't understand the story. They think it's just a tonneau cover company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that probably what it is? It's the legacy investors from like 5 years ago. They're still stuck on the tonneau covers. They don't realize where you've gone. Like, is that where you're going?
Yeah, I think that we have to continue to tell our story and get our message out there to get people to learn and appreciate the Worksport ecosystem, and continue to grow there. But yeah, we are measurably undervalued, and when something is almost definitely undervalued, then it addresses a much larger upside reasonably than a reasonable downside. Now, don't get me wrong, something bad can happen tomorrow and all the stocks can go down. Like today, I think the markets are broadly red, or for small companies red. But we don't control day to day. But I think that there's more arguments to be made why we're undervalued, and we have a huge opportunity ahead of us than why we may be overvalued and have not. So it's like revenues are up. So like investors or shareholders or stock traders are like, they get grouchy, like do this and why didn't you do this? And it's like we've done all of it. You wanted revenues, you have revenues. You wanted made in America, it's done. You want growth, it's there. I mean, margins went from 7 to 30%. You want more of it, then do it yourself. But we're doing it our way, the right way, methodically, and we're going to continue to show up every single day. And everything we're talking about in terms of our energy storage and our solar integrations that are coming out later this year. I mean, we're talking weeks from now. Is something that's going to start showing up on the balance sheet, and patient investors are, I think, we're going to make some wealth here for people.
Okay, let's get to some audience questions here. We got so Chris Bo saying, I own I'm an affiliate trader for the Worksport AL3 AL4. Amazing product, and love that it's made in the USA. What is an affiliate creator exactly? What is that? What is affiliate creator?
So we have affiliates. They're like influencers. They have like great followers, and then they help sell our product.
Like a market. Okay. So
he's marketing affiliate.
Got it.
I know Chris, and he's a big supporter, and we absolutely love we love that he loves us, and we love him just as much.
Excellent. So listen, I think the target, it could be $75 plus. So yeah, month over month, revenues breaking records, which is, I'll tell you, this is actually, I mean, you're living the dream here. This is the case book, the textbook example of exactly what you want to see. You want to see a stock where the revenues are exploding quarter over quarter. That's like the dream. And how often does that happen? Rarely. You're actually seeing it happen in front of your own eyes.
We're at the hockey stick part. Like their revenues are just like a straight line up, year over year, and we're going to continue to grow.
Cameron saying, when is Solus coming to the market?
We've said fall. We can't. We could spell the word fall. We could write it. We could paint it. We could do whatever we want, but fall is fall. And if you want us to pick an exact day, we'd be guessing, but it's going to be fall. And if we define fall, it's Q4 of this year. Sometime within then. And investors keep asking. They're like, why aren't you giving us a date? Well, the solar panels are being made at a factory that makes solar panels for NASA. They're not around the corner from us. They got to be made, tested, shipped. Like there's a lot of variables, but we know that we're going to get them in fall, and we know that we're going to make them in fall. Whether it's the last day or the first day, we don't know yet. But I don't want to sound arrogant, but it's exhausting when people think that like we could turn the world over on its axis. It's just there's certain things that we can't control, and it's the production of highly technical solar panels and battery systems and stuff like that. Or there's volatility in delays.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make this. Yeah, it's not that simple doing this stuff.
Just fall. That's all we know.
Okay, so you bought some new.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. We bought so we have in our factories one of the only ones of its kind in the northeast side of North America, where it takes a coil of aluminum, like a big roll of aluminum. And it's this massive machine. It's 150 feet long. It costs us millions and millions of dollars. And it takes this roll of bulk aluminum. It straightens it, it cuts it apart, and it bends it into our tonneau covers, all robotically, all automated. It comes off the end of our conveyor belt, like basically done. We got to have some humans assembling them and packaging them, but like it makes all the parts without needing a bending station and a cutting station and drilling. And it takes and it's fully automatic. It's fully automated. It's robotic. It's perfect. The first one's the same as by the measurements are all. Anyway, we're so busy. We just bought a second one, and we expect to get it sometime early next year. We could get it as early as January, February, but we may push it out. I'm not sure, because a lot of engineering has to go into the second system. It's not like they just ship you 150-foot long machine and you bolt it to the ground and plug it into the wall. There's electrical, there's foundation, There's downtime on your current line. There's a lot of work that goes into integrating these new types of lines, but it'll double our production, this line. And we've already ordered it. We put a deposit and everything. So it's in production. We actually just had a meeting this morning.
Are these made in Germany? Because it seems like the Germans make all these.
Finland and Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, so that line is a $4 million line, and it'll double our production. It'll get us into 9 figures in capacity, $100 million plus into sales capacity, and it should be ready to ship, or should be at our doors sometime in the first half of next year. But we have to. There's a lot of engineering that goes into planning that, so it could be January, February, it could be February, March. We don't know.
This is what I was going to ask you. What's keeping you from going to, $100 million right now? Is it just the capacity? Are you only limited right now because you don't have this extra machine? Is that the only thing that's in the way of going?
No. We could get there. We could get to close to it already. It's just a matter of scaling up while keeping quality in check, right? Because every unit that goes out the door could be a return, and every return could cost twice the revenue. So if you sell 100 bad products, you're gonna have to sell 200 good products to get back to square one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses go bankrupt. Like I gave you my story. Like businesses go bankrupt with bad business decisions or trying to grow too fast. So for now, we need more production lines, more workers, training workers for safety. Right? We don't want people losing fingers or cutting themselves. Or we're around heavy products. We use heavy machinery. There's forklifts. There's machines that cut and drill, and so it's working. It's growing with quality, growing with safety, and then growing with hiring, human resources, hiring, training, and all these types of things. And you have to do that relatively slowly so that we don't want anyone getting hurt, and we don't want a product getting returned. And preventing both from happening takes time.
Yeah, it's funny. There's actually very few manufacturing. I don't remember the last time I interviewed a manufacturing CEO. You're basically a manufacturing CEO.
We're industry 101.
You're an industrialist. You're literally. I don't remember the last time we had one. And I think most investors are not familiar with companies that actually manufacture stuff. Especially big stuff. It's like, and there's actually, there's friction involved. It's not like just turning on a software program. You actually people, parts, machinery.
We have 120 employees now, right? And these are 120 people that rely on me and Worksport, as their paycheck. And we want to make sure we take care of them. We want to make sure that they're safe. We want to make sure that everyone is happy. And if we just pull people in off the street of Western New York and say, just stand there and drill that hole, and and just go carry now we're talking, it's just not the quality of growth to make the quality of product, to build the quality of company that we want. Good things take time. Now, I said we want everything yesterday. We're going to get it as close to tomorrow as possible. And we have a line straight up in the air in terms of profit, straight up. Revenue, straight up. Next stock price, hopefully straight up. Okay, I get all that. But we want to make sure that we don't also have returns straight up, 1-star reviews straight up, right? So we want to make sure that we're building a very strong brand the right way, and that takes time. I've had meetings with automakers. I've had meetings with Fortune 100 companies that want to buy our technology on Aetherlux and Worksport and acquisitions and all these things. There's a time for that. And don't get me wrong, we're gonna acquire businesses, we're gonna grow, we're gonna do all these great things. We have to do it slowly when there's a strong foundation, not over years, maybe over months, but it just takes time to build. So to go from 10 products in a box to 160 products in boxes every day that we do now, it takes a lot of brain power, and I owe everything to the amazing team that we have to help us do that. But to go from 160 to 300 or 500 is just going to take more time, not because we're lazy or we're golfing. It's just because we want to make sure that quality, the process, the brand, the supply chain, the margin of profit, everything is protected, because we've spent so much time building what we've got. We don't want to risk it, not for anybody.
Okay, but the bottom line is this. Because I think whatever the learning curve, I think you've done the learning curve already. A lot of the early mistakes that companies make in manufacturing and returns. You've been there already. You've gone through that. So now
we've stepped on all, you know, the cartoons where the guy stepped on the rake and it hits him. We've stepped on all the rakes, and we're like AI. The artificial intelligence, the intelligence in our business is amazing. We've learned so much that we're growing so fast that it's just impressive to see our team of leaders growing so fast that later on this year we're going to kick off a national television commercial with NBC Peacock, you know, on football. That wasn't even possible. The quality of video assets, the media team that we have, the marketing team that we have, all of this stuff is wild. We have grown so fast that to get to the next, so from $0 to $20 million has been, you know, 2 years. From $20 to $200 million, I think we're going to do it a lot faster. We're growing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We skipped 100. Now we're 200. Okay. So how long do you think it would take to get to 200?
Yeah, it would depend. Like the core, the battery system, you know, it's going to have a $1,500 price tag. Well, $1,200 to $1,500 is versions within. And, you know, there's 300 million Americans. And if we sold, like, do the math, like if we sold, you know, 100 a day, that's 6 figures a day already of daily revenues. I mean, that adds up very quickly. Just selling 100 of something, you know, let alone 1,000 or whatever. So what I'm getting at is, like, when we're talking about, you know, sports teams and, you know, looking at, we're made in Buffalo. So Bills, you know, Bills Mafia and maybe partnering with them on marketing. When we talk about NBC television commercials, we talk about branding, we talk about influencers and affiliates. They're here today. Chris, thank you. All these things. It's like, you look at all of it and you aggregate it. It's like selling $100,000 items is already significant revenues. Selling $500,000 items on a daily basis on a 300 million person population is adds up too. So like I said, we don't get out of bed to build a $20 million business. We're getting out of bed to build a $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion, like billions of dollars of value needs to be brought here. And it's not, I don't have a crystal ball, but I want to say that we have tenacity. So we're going to keep going until we get there.
You know, again, I know this is going to sound like a little bit like hype, but the reality is this: it's almost like this company it's kind of like Apple, you know, in the year 2000, in early 2000s, when they just had, you know, they had their piece, you know, they had their computer, then they launched the iPod, right? The iPod, the little iPod, which the batteries, by the way, the batteries failed. And I thought, okay, the batteries. Anyway, so then they came out with the iPhone, and then they came out with other. But so it's sort of like, but if you thought of Apple as just a computer company in the year 2000, that's not really what it was. It was all those other consumer products. And then it was iTunes, which is the big moneymaker. The iTunes is not. I mean, that wasn't even in people's. I don't think maybe Steve Jobs thought of it, but it wasn't. So we got two good things going. We got two Steves. You could be the other Steve. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but it's very similar, right? Like, in other words, you start with one thing, and then so I think what's important is that investors are looking at this right now. They're basically the bet that they're making on the stock is really they're making the bet on you and how you're going to execute in terms of other innovations, executing those innovations, not just great new products, but actually putting them into the market and scaling and everything else. And can you do it? That's really the bet. And is it worth $3 a share that potentially could be, you know, $100 or $300? That's what.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Yeah. So in general, you know, we're targeting cash flow positive this year. You know, we're thinking that cash flow positive will hit somewhere around a $25 to $30 million run rate. The batteries and all of our systems launching later this year are going to be significant for our revenues next year. And I think that, the valuation will end up picking up. And once we're cash flow positive, we're no longer diluting equity to raise capital to fund operations because we're making our own money. So that's when things become very interesting. I think that, I'm super excited. Okay. Oh, there it is. There's a question. Yeah. So it's not 50 million. We think it's about a run rate of like 25, 30 million. It's a balance. Depends on if we're selling more wholesale or retail where we make higher margin. But let's say 30 million run rate, roughly like, $8-9 million a quarter, you know, maybe $10 million a quarter at the high end is where we're cash flow break even, and then we're profitable. It's still fairly modest because, you know, we're targeting a lot more revenues than that. So if we're profitable at $30 to $50 million. 50 to 100, we're making a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think the financial stuff. No offense, I don't think the financial stuff matters, and like for the stock, like where this thing can go. I think the financials are going to matter, like all the detail, like break even. I don't think anybody really cares about the break. I don't think they care about that stuff. Cash flow. What they want to see is the revenue scaling right now. That's the story, I think, for what's going to drive the stock for the next year. Then, okay, and by the way, and I'm sure when the revenue scale, then of course everything will take care of itself. But the revenue scaling, that's the big thing. That's the exciting part of this. Is like is to go from 20 to 100 million. I think that's what's going to make this stock. Okay, last question. See, I'm going to let you go. I want to respect your time. We went way over. We started late. I apologize here. Okay. Okay. So works. Okay. You know what? Let's end on this. I want to catch up with you. We've got to do another interview. We'll get into a lot of details. What kind of news flow can we expect over the next, let's call it 60 days? Because, what kind of milestones do you have coming up that people should keep an eye on?
Well, we're working towards, from the bottom up, not bottom by importance, but the heat pump. We're going to Aetherlux. There's some very interesting opportunities there that could unfold to something amazing. So we're excited about the heat pump system, the execution on our Solus and Core, the delivery of the Solus and Core. Very excited there, and updates there. Updates on top line revenues month over month for September and August. We're very, very excited there. And then M&A, we may be looking at mergers and acquisitions, these types of things as an opportunity that might be accretive to investors. That's 30, 60 days. Beyond that, communications, development of further developments and iterations of our products in terms of like our battery and energy systems for home and these types of things. But yeah, the biggest thing is going to be the solar, the battery, and maybe the heat pump in terms of news. Solar, battery, heat pump, and revenues in terms of news flow over the next.
One thing. I promise. This second to last question. What's the communication device you're talking about? What exactly is that going to be?
We on the core battery system, I've already said right now when there's a natural disaster or someone's off gridding, let's say someone wants to go, really out there, they lose communications, they lose connectivity. And Starlink has a system that obviously gives you wireless data in the mountains, but you need power. So it's like kind of bring your own power, and then you have the satellite device. We want our core battery system in the future to have satellite connectivity in itself. So think of our battery generator as also a mobile hotspot. So that if there's a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, flood, earth, wildfire, the first thing that happens, the power goes down. So you can't really charge or plug in a Starlink. So we plan on making our version of our core become a mobile hotspot as well that'll provide people the ability to connect data and communications wirelessly.
So it's gonna be based like a Starlink essentially.
We're thinking about satellite communications integrated into our core system, so that the core system will broadcast Wi-Fi signals to those around. Like you can connect to the core on your phone and stream Netflix or just call for help. Good times or bad times. So it's a satellite. Is there a system you can plug into right now, like an existing a network? There are networks, and we're exploring. There's of course Starlink, but then there's other smaller satellite communications. We're also looking at AT&T as a pretty evolved network, but we're also looking at the opportunity for like a do-it-yourself kind of approach. I'm not saying we're going to put satellites into space next year, but we don't plan on being a small company for much longer. So. There might be some integrations we can do there or be a part of that. But for now we're looking at existing communications networks and being able to use them in our battery system as like a mobile hotspot.
Okay. By the way, the satellite price, it's not a crazy thing because those satellite prices have gone way down. It's like much more accessible. As much
as this sounds crazy for us to find investment opportunities to launch our own string of communication satellites is actually much more reasonable than one would think, with the upside opportunity in terms of a product as a service. Worksport as product as a service, now you have a core battery system that's a battery generator that's consistently communicating and offering connectivity. But I've said in other podcasts in the past and interviews, maybe our core system could also be a Bitcoin miner system as well. Once it's connected, there's all kinds of amazing opportunities, and now your core system is making you money. So the sky's the limit in terms of the opportunities.
Yeah, this thing has so much. There is really so much runway, but the good part is you actually are making the progress. The plane is on. It's really taken off. It's not like one of these things where people talk about, oh yeah, well, we're going to do this. It's actually, this stuff is like real and tangible.
It's real.
And happening. Yeah. This I promise, Steve. I promise. Last question. I always like to ask CEOs this at the end. In your opinion, what are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider Worksport today?
It's a good question. Number 1 is our focus on made in America, our domestic manufacturing, but global opportunity. So there's a huge opportunity as domestic, but our market's global as we get into our battery systems. Our keen focus on profitability and earnings and growing revenues. So we're strictly and solely focused on growing sales and growing profits over the next few years. And then the third thing is the opportunity in terms of energies. Energy storage solutions, energy systems for home, energy systems for portable systems for job site, campsite, as I say. So looking at the future of where people are headed, we want to be a big part of those lifestyles. So generally, it's because we're future proof and we're not a dinosaur business, and we're going to get there very profitably with a lot of sales. We're going to get there with home turf advantage. Those 3 things in aggregate, I think, make us a very powerful business for the future.
Okay, Steve. Again, thank you again for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you in the next one. This is going to be a lot to unpack with this story over the coming weeks, I can just tell. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.